Let's start with the obvious. Monster bounties. You'd think slaying a griffin or a striga would fill Geralt's pockets, but the reality is messier. Take the time he hunted the griffin plaguing Vizima's outskirts in The Witcher 3. The local lord promised 500 orens, a sum that sounded lavish until you tally the expenses. First, he needed a new vial of swallow potion to heal mid-fight. The ingredients alone: white willow bark, belladonna, and a dash of monster bile cost 80 orens from the alchemist in Oxenfurt. Then there was his silver sword. The griffin's talons had nicked the blade, and the blacksmith in Novigrad charged 20 orens to reforge the edge and reapply the silver coating. Silver, as any Witcher knows, doesn't come cheap. By the time he paid for a night's stay at the inn, 15 orens, plus a tankard of mead to soothe his ribs, and a new leather strap for his sword hilt, 10 orens, that 500 orens was whittled down to 275. Hardly a fortune for a job that could have left him gored or poisoned. And that's a good job. Worse are the village gigs, smaller bounties, pickier clients, and a habit of trying to shortchange the Witcher. In Andrzej Sapkowski's The Last Wish, Geralt traveled to the village of Posada to kill a striga, only to have the local elder argue over the fee afterward. "You said 300 orens," the elder huffed, clutching his purse. But the striga was just a girl, hardly a monster. Geralt, ever the pragmatist, reminded him the striga had already eaten 3 villagers. He got his money, but not without a fight, and not before spending 40 orens on a new phylactery potion to weaken the striga and another 25 on bandages for the claw marks she'd left on his arm. For a job that took 3 nights of waiting in a crypt and nearly getting torn apart, 300 orens was barely enough to cover the wear and tear on his armor, let alone save for a rainy day. Then there are the hidden costs, the ones that don't show up in a blacksmith's ledger but eat into Geralt's coin all the same. Take his armor. The Ursine set he favors sturdy, built for brute force needs more than just a polish. After a fight with a group of drowners in Velen's marshes, the leather plates rotted from the muck. Replacing them cost 150 orens, and that's before paying to treat the metal joints for rust, another 60. Or his alchemy tools. The mortar and pestle he uses to grind potion ingredients cracks after months of use, and a new one from the Oxenfurt alchemist costs 75 orens. Even his horse roach, often overlooked, needs care. New horseshoes, 20 orens a set, oats for long journeys, 5 orens a bag, and once a vet's fee, 40 orens, when she got bitten by a necker. Witchers don't get sick, but their horses do, and vet bills don't care if you're a monster hunter. The worst part? Income is never steady. A Witcher doesn't get a weekly wage. He gets paid only when there's a monster to kill. Some months, Geralt might bag 2 griffins and a noon wraith, reckoning in 1,200 orens. Other months, he wanders for weeks without a single job, burning through savings just to eat. In The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, he spent 3 weeks in Flotsam waiting for a lead, shelling out 15 orens a night for a room and 3 orens a meal. By the time he finally got a job hunting a K-Ran, he'd already spent 300 orens, money he had to make back before he could afford to repair his damaged gauntlets. Compare that to other professions in the continent. A knight serving a lord gets a steady salary, free lodging, and a squire to maintain his armor. A merchant trading silks or spices can make 500 orens in a single trip, with no risk of getting disemboweled by a wyvern. Even a blacksmith in a busy town makes 20 orens a day, enough to live comfortably without sleeping in stables or drinking expired mead to save coin. Geralt's lucrative job? It's a gamble. It's a gamble. Every hunt could be his last, and if he gets injured, he can't work. When he took a manticore stinger to the thigh in Blood and Wine, he spent 2 weeks bedridden in Toussaint, paying 200 orens for a healer and another 100 orens to a stable boy to look after Roach. That's 300 orens gone, with no income coming in. And let's not forget the potions, Geralt's most essential and expensive tool. A single bottle of Thunderbolt to boost his strength costs 90 orens to make. A cat potion for seeing in the dark is 70. He rarely goes into a fight with fewer than 3 potions, which adds up to 200 per hunt. If he uses them all, and he usually does, he has to restock before the next job. In The Witcher 3, during the battle with the Wild Hunt at Kaer Morhen, he went through 8 potions costing over 600 orens to replace. That's more than most villagers make in a year, spent in a single day of fighting. So why does he do it? It's not for the money. Geralt's made it clear he doesn't care about wealth. It's for the job itself, for the villages he saves, for the monsters no one else can kill. But that doesn't make the economics any easier. Next time you watch him down a swallow potion or swing his silver sword, remember every sip, every strike costs him. He's not just fighting monsters, he's fighting to stay afloat 1 oren at a time. The next time he's in a tavern, nursing a mead and counting his coins, you'll know why he orders the cheapest ale. Being a Witcher isn't about being rich. It's about surviving long enough to take the next job, to buy the next potion, to keep his sword sharp. It's a tightrope walk, and Geralt's been balancing on it for decades. Most people think monster hunting is all glory and guts, swinging a silver sword, downing a potion, and walking away with a pouch full of coins. But let Geralt of Rivia lean across a tavern table, push aside his tankard of mead, and dump his coin purse onto the wood. The clink is faint, not the jingle of wealth. A handful of crumpled orens, a chipped copper piece, and a scrap of paper with a blacksmith's IOU. Glory doesn't pay for Roach's oats, he'll say, tapping the purse, or the bed bugs at the inn, or the dry bread I eat on the road. Monster hunting is a job, and like any job, the real grind isn't in the fighting. It's in the math. Take the immediate expenses, the ones that hit before he even draws his sword. Food on the road isn't fancy, but it adds up. A loaf of hardtack stale, but it lasts a week, costs 2 orens. A pouch of smoked bacon to add some flavor is 5 orens. A skin of water, 1 oren if you're buying from a merchant. If Geralt's trekking through Velen's marshes, where clean water is scarce, he'll pay double for a purified skin, 3 orens. Over a 2-week hunt, that's 2 loaves of hardtack, 4 orens, 3 pouches of bacon, 15 orens, and 4 skins of water, 12 orens, 31 orens, just to not starve or dehydrate. That's more than half the fee he gets for killing a few drowners. And if he's lucky enough to find a village with fresh soup, a bowl costs 4 orens, and he'll shell out for it, anything to avoid another bite of hardtack. Lodging is even worse. Fancy inns in Tucson or Oxenfurt cost 20 orens a night, with soft beds and hot meals, but Geralt rarely stays there. He's usually in the kind of place with a name like the Rotten Log or the Drowning Man, where the roof leaks and the sheets smell like ale. In Novigrad's dock district, one such inn charges 12 orens a night. The bed has a spring that jabs his ribs, the walls are thin enough to hear the couple next door arguing, and the innkeeper eyes his swords like he's waiting for Geralt to skip out on the bill. But it's either that or sleep in the stables with Roach, and stables still cost 5 orens a night. The innkeeper says it's for the hay. Once, in a village outside Kaer Morhen, Geralt slept in a barn to save 8 orens, only to wake up covered in fleas and have to buy a new cloth to wipe down his armor, 3 orens. Penny pinching, it turns out, has its own price. Then there's Roach. She's not just a horse, she's Geralt's only way to cover long distances, his escape when a hunt goes south, his silent companion. But she's expensive. New horseshoes, 18 orens a set, and she needs them replaced every month if they're traveling on rocky roads. Oats for the nights when grass is scarce, 4 orens a bag, and she goes through 2 a week. If she gets injured, like when a necker bit her leg in Skellige vet, bills add up fast. The local stable hand charged Geralt 35 orens to clean the wound and wrap it in healing herbs. She's a good horse, the stable hand said, but good horses need good care. Geralt didn't argue. He just handed over the coins, knowing he'd have to take an extra job hunting a wraith to make it back. Once, he even had to buy Roach a new saddle after a griffin's talons tore the old one 60 orens, gone in a second. Glory, he muttered as he paid, is overrated. The real killer, though, is the always prepared fund, the small recurring costs that slip through your fingers until you're staring at an empty purse. Take blade sharpening kits. Geralt's silver sword needs a special whetstone, infused with silver dust to keep its edge, and each kit costs 10 orens. He goes through one every 2 weeks, especially if he's fighting monsters with tough hides. His steel sword uses a cheaper stone, 5 orens a kit, but that's still 15 orens a month just to keep his blades from dulling mid-fight. Dull blades mean slower kills. Slower kills mean getting hurt. Getting hurt means paying a healer. It's a cycle, and it all starts with a 10 oren whetstone. Essential oils are another must. He uses leather oil to keep his armor from cracking in the rain. 8 orens a bottle, lasts 3 weeks, and metal polish to prevent rust on his pauldrons. 6 orens a tin, lasts a month. Then there's the oil for his sword hilts. If the leather gets dry, it slips in his hand. That's 4 orens a small jar. Added up, 8 plus 6 plus 4, 18 orens a month, just to keep his gear from falling apart. Skip the leather oil, and his armor splits during a fight. Skip the metal polish, and his pauldrons rust through. It's not a choice, it's a cost. And don't forget the flint for signs. Geralt uses Igni fire more than any other sign for lighting campfires, for burning monster nests, for scaring off bandits, but flint wears down, and good flint, the kind that sparks even in wet weather, costs 2 orens apiece. He goes through 5 pieces a week, especially if he's camping outside. That's 10 orens a week, 40 orens a month. Once, in the Blue Mountains, he ran out of flint during a storm. He couldn't light a fire to dry his clothes, couldn't use Igni to fight off a pack of wolves. He barely made it to the next village, where he paid 3 orens for a single piece of flint. The merchant knew he had no choice. Always prepared, he muttered, dropping the coin. Right, these small costs don't feel like much on their own. A 10 oren whetstone, an 8 oren bottle of oil, a 2 oren piece of flint. But add them up over a month, 31 orens for food, 36 orens for lodging, 12 orens night X 3 nights a week, 28 orens for Roach oats plus horseshoes, 15 orens for sharpening kits, 18 orens for oils, 40 orens for flint. That's 168 orens a month just to stay alive, not even counting potion ingredients or sword repairs. For context, a bounty for killing a noon wraith is usually 200 orens. So Geralt could spend 3 weeks hunting a noon wraith, make 200 orens, and walk away with just 32 orens in profit. If he gets injured, if his armor tears, if Roach gets sick, he's in the red. That's the Witcher's daily grind, not the monsters, not the fights, but the coins. Counting them, saving them, spending them on things no one else notices. The next time you see Geralt ride into a village, silver sword at his hip, remember, he's not just there to kill a monster. He's there to pay for Roach's next meal. to buy a new whetstone, to sleep in a bed that doesn't have fleas. Glory is the story people tell. The coin purse, that's the reality. He'll finish his mead, tuck the few orens back into his purse, and stand up. Another hunt. Another chance to make ends meet. Let's go, Roach, he'll say, mounting his horse, and they'll ride off into the next fight, the next expense, the next day of the grind. Geralt of Rivia stands in the dim back room of Oxenfurt's alchemist shop, fingers tapping the edge of a wooden counter as he stares at a small vial of fiend heart extract. The alchemist, a stooped man with stained hands, pushes the vial forward. 150 orens. Take it or leave it. Fiends don't just hand over their hearts, Witcher. Geralt grits his teeth. That's half the bounty he earned for killing the Noonwraith in White Orchard. But he needs the extract to make a swallow potion, and without swallow, the next hunt could kill him. This is the hidden math of a Witcher's life. Every spell, every swing of the sword, every sip of potion comes with a price tag, and it's never cheap. Alchemy's cost isn't just in coins. It's in blood, time, and luck. Take Geralt's go-to potions, Swallow for healing, Thunderbolt for strength, Cap for night vision. Each relies on ingredients that are either rare, dangerous to harvest, or both. Fiend hearts used in Swallow require tracking down the territorial, fire-breathing monsters, often in remote mountains where even villagers fear to tread. Once you kill a fiend, you have to extract the heart before it rots, a messy process that risks burns from the creature's residual heat. If you don't want to hunt it yourself, you'll pay a poacher 120 orens for a fresh one, assuming they don't get eaten first. Rare herbs are just as costly. Belladonna, a key component in Thunderbolt, only grows in shaded glens untouched by human hands, like the forests of Velen, where drowners and wraiths lurk. A single sprig sells for 15 orens, and you need 3 for a single potion. Then there's Wolfsbane, used in the Moondust Bomb to weaken lycanthropes. It's toxic to harvest, so alchemists charge a premium 25 orens per ounce. In Andrei Sapkowski's Baptism of Fire, Geralt spends 3 days trekking through the Blue Mountains to find a patch of Wolfsbane, only to fight off a pack of wargs that had claimed the glen. By the time he returns, he's bloodied, exhausted, and out the cost of new bandages, 10 orens, and a replacement for his torn cloak, 40 orens. The Wolfsbane saves his life later, but it's a reminder alchemy's price is often paid in sweat before it's paid in coins. Even common ingredients add up. A vial of monster bile used in most potions costs 8 orens. A pinch of saltpeter for bombs is 5 orens. Over a month of hunting, Geralt might go through 20 vials of bile and 15 pinches of saltpeter, 195 orens, just in basics. That's enough to buy a week's stay at a fancy inn in Toussaint or a new saddle for Roach. But for a Witcher, it's non-negotiable. Skip on ingredients and your potion might fail mid-fight. Geralt learned that lesson the hard way. In The Witcher 3, he used a diluted swallow made with cheap bile during a fight with a griffin, and the potion barely healed his wounds. He barely escaped with his life and had to spend 200 orens on a healer afterward. Weapons and armor, they're not just tools, they're ongoing investments. Geralt carries 2 swords, a steel one for humans and a silver one for monsters. Both need constant care, and silver swords are the worst offenders. Silver is soft compared to steel, so it nicks easily when striking a monster's scales or bones. After a fight with a wyvern in Blood and Wine, Geralt's silver sword had a gaping notch in the blade. The blacksmith in Beauclair charged him 180 orens to reforge the edge and reapply the silver coating. Silver is rare after all, and the blacksmith knew Geralt couldn't afford to wait. Silver doesn't grow on trees, the man said, hammering away, and neither does coin. Steel swords are sturdier, but they rust if not oiled, and bend if struck too hard. After a brawl with bandits in Novigrad, Geralt's steel sword bent at the hilt. The blacksmith there charged 90 orens to straighten it and replace the wooden grip which had split during the fight. Then there's the armor. Geralt's Ursine set, with its thick leather and metal plates, is built for durability, but it still wears down. Marshwater in Veland rots the leather, so he has to pay 120 orens every few months to have it treated with waterproofing. Rust eats at the metal pauldrons, costing 75 orens to clean and replate. Even small parts break. A leather strap on his gauntlet snaps, costing 10 orens to replace. A buckle on his chest plate bends, costing 15 orens to fix. It's death by 1,000 cuts, literally, for his coin purse. The worst part? Armor and swords don't last forever. After a year of heavy use, a silver sword's blade becomes too thin to repair. Geralt had to buy a new one in Oxenfurt once, and it cost him 500 orens, almost a full griffin bounty. Armor fares a little better, but after 2 years, the leather cracks beyond repair. A new Ursine set? 800 orens. That's weeks of hunting, assuming he doesn't get injured. In The Witcher 2, Geralt's armor was destroyed by a dragon's fire. He had to spend 3 weeks hunting a fork-tailed devil and a necker just to afford a replacement. Armor's like a second skin, he told Triss at the time, and this one's expensive. Then there are the mutagenic costs, the ones no one talks about. Witchers are made, not born, and their mutations, the ones that give them super strength, speed, and resistance to poison, aren't a one-time thing. They need constant upkeep to stay stable. Every few months, Geralt has to drink a specialized decoction made with wyvern venom extracts, 170 orens, and elder blood, 200 orens, if you can find a seller. Without it, His mutations start to fade, his reflexes slow, his resistance to poison weakens. In the last wish, Geralt skipped the decoction to save coin and ended up bedridden for a week after a ghoul's poison nearly killed him. The healer's bill? 300 orens, more than he'd saved by skipping the decoction. Mutations also mean medical costs no other warrior faces. Witchers don't get sick often, but when they do, their mutated bodies require specialized treatment. Once, Geralt developed a fever after a fight with a vampire, and the only healer who could treat him, a elf in the forest of Dol Bethana, charged 250 orens. Your blood's not human, the elf explained. Treating you's like treating a monster. It takes time. Time, of course, means no hunting and no income. Geralt lost another 300 orens in potential bounties while he recovered. This is the truth of a witcher's gear and craft. It's not just about buying potions or repairing swords. It's about investing in survival. And every oren Geralt spends on a fiend heart or a new silver sword is a bet that he'll live long enough to earn it back. He doesn't do it for wealth, he does it because without that potion, that sword, that armor, he'll be just another corpse in the woods. Next time you see Geralt pull a potion from his belt or swing his silver sword, remember that's not just magic or skill. That's 150 orens in fiend heart extract, on 80 orens in sword repairs, 30-70 orens in mutagen decoctions. It's the cost of being a witcher, and it's a cost he pays every single day just to keep fighting.